this morning. Now, the 5 accused in the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial returned to the dock this morning following explosive revelations of a second docket. Slindelo Masikane continues to track this story for us, and she joins us now for the very latest. Good morning to you, Slee. Let's just get some context. The second docket that's been spoken about, raised, of course, in court, definitely one that will take highlight this week.
Most certainly so. I mean, it's the reason why we had to adjourn proceedings last week. And of course, Docket 375 is no secret, Dumelo. In fact, we first learnt of it during cross-examination by Advocate Malisala Defo, who introduced an affidavit by Sergeant Thabo Mosia, who is the state's first witness, the forensic investigator. He had to post an affidavit in connection with Docket 375, in which he concedes that the crime scene may have been compromised because of the amount of time that had lapsed before he could arrive at the crime scene. So that is how we knew that there was this possibility of a second docket. But in the manner in which Advocate Malisala Defo had introduced this evidence, many a times Judge Chifiwa Maumela had to acknowledge some of the objections coming from the state, saying that you know, this is not the docket that we're dealing with in terms of court proceedings. The men who are in the dock are in connection with docket 636. And so when it came to the continuation of cross-examination this week, we saw Advocate Zandile Mshololo, who was not only just poking holes in terms of the forensic evidence, but when it came to this docket 375, and because of that submission of the affidavit by Advocate Defo, she then had to tell the judge that I can't continue with cross-examination because this affidavit was only brought into this trial while proceedings were underway, meaning she has not had disclosure in terms of docket 375. So she told the judge that for my client's constitutional rights, I need to be able to be given time to be able to study this docket and understand exactly how it affects my client. And she was quite scathing in her words, I must say, Dumelo, in terms of her complaining about the manner in which this docket is now being introduced in the trial, saying that her client's rights, as well as the ones of accused 1 to 4, those rights have been prejudiced, and their clients have not been able to adequately prepare in terms of this docket. She even said that this is critical and crucial information that's coming out now that could have real material implications for her client. We know that docket 375 implicates Kelly Khumalo and those who were in that house on the 26th of October 2014 as the ones who have a case to answer to. There's alleged prima facie evidence against those who were in the house, and that docket saying that they should be charged with murder as well as defeating the ends of justice. Now, we've had a conversation with Magdalene Munsami, who represents Kelly Khumalo. Let's just take a listen to what she had to say, because one of the allegations coming from that docket is that Kelly Khumalo shot Senzo Meyiwa by mistake using a revolver. Let's take a listen.
I'm in agreement to the extent of the speculation around then how would it be resolved and what would be the implications moving forward for those that may or may not be established in terms of 375. My major concern, and that my major point of agreement, I think, on that issue is the unsigned docket. There has to be a reason that 375 was not signed, because if you are speaking about defeating the ends of justice and there are an additional number of accused as alleged, then let's just open up the matter and the trial to be able to establish what then were the events and versions, the statements of all players in this matter. You can't have 5 accused with confessions sitting in a dock and not wonder that they came out of what set of circumstances. It can't be a default of the competency of forensics. It can't be a default on the competency of ballistics. It can't be a default on the competency of the entire judicial infrastructure and state apparatus. There has to be something amiss. And this, for me, I think, is where the rubber hits the road.
And we heard there from Magdalene Munsami, saying that Kelukumalo Sli cannot wait for her time in trial. She's been asking over and over again when she'll have her turn to give testimony as to what she saw. So what's to be expected next during this court case?
So what we know that today is more of an administrative session. We know that Sergeant Mosia will not be returning to the witness box, and that is because Advocate Mshololo said that she would be writing to the NPA to get clarity on this second docket, on docket 375, to understand exactly why the men in the dock were charged and are on trial as opposed to those accused in docket 375. We understand that possibly we would have a response from the NPA by today. We as the media have requested information in terms of what led or informed the NPA to actually continue with docket 636 as opposed to 375, and the response we received was that it's sub judice. So of course, with the council now requesting this information themselves, we'll know today in open court exactly what that response will be. Proceedings expected to start at around 10 a.m. this morning, and we'll also see whether or not council will agree to when we can actually have the trial resume.
All right, we'll leave it there, and I appreciate you giving us this update. Sli, we'll be sure to get back to you as soon as there are other developments. That's eNCA Slindelo Masikane.